Variable resistance training or accommodating resistance incorporates variable resistances where there are changes in the external resistance throughout the range of motion. This can be applied by using elastic bands or chains during resistance exercises. The mechanism of variable resistance training, it is based on matching the strength curves of concentric movements, greater eccentric loading, and alter time under tension. This is the strength curve. We have 3 strength curves in, and most of our resistance exercises follow one of these strength curves. This has ascending strength curve, which is marked in red, where the torque producing capability of the muscle keeps increasing as the joint angle increases during concentric contraction. And the eccentric loading, the descending strength curve, is marked in green, where the muscle's capability to produce a concentric action keeps decreasing as the joint angle increases. And the next strength curve is marked in blue, which has an ascending limb, plateau, and descending limb. Ascending limb, that is the initial part of the range, the muscle's capability increases, whereas the plateau region, which has the maximum capacity to produce torque, and after that range, that is during the final range, the muscle's capability decreases as the joint angle increases. These are the banded push-ups by applying the principles of accommodating resistance. The ascending strength curve, so where the torque, it keeps increasing with the increased joint range of motion during the concentric contraction. Now let's check the bench press, especially the double press, where there is an excessive momentum and the ability to generate torque, it increases throughout the concentric phase of the bench press or the double press. As the momentum for the shoulders, that is external gravitational momentum, decreases, the muscle's ability to generate torque increases. And also here, when he comes back and at this position, there is an excessive external gravitational momentum which makes the movement tougher. Let's check the bench press. So that's the concentric part, concentric phase of the bench press, and this is the eccentric phase of the bench press, where at this point the difficult range of muscle work is this point because the mechanical advantages is very less. Thus, getting the bar off the chest is the toughest part of the concentric phase, which becomes progressively easier as you reach the lockout position of the bench press or the dumbbell press. Now coming to the squat. As we say, this is also part of the ascending strength curve. That's the concentric part of the squat, and this is the eccentric phase of the squat. And the most difficult range is the deeper squat. So the trick movements adopted by people who lift weight is not getting the barbell towards the chest in case of bench press and not performing deep squat in case of thus avoiding the part of the range of motion in order to overcome the weaker part of the strength curve. If you look at the descending strength curve, where the exercises are easier at the beginning of the concentric contraction, which becomes harder as we proceed further. Example, this is the pull-up. So the easiest part is the one in this range. So initiating the concentric contraction would be easier, but the end range would be difficult to perform. Many of us tend to perform only half rep pull down and half rep pull up in order to avoid the end range of muscle work where the capacity to produce muscle work is quite less. Next is the bell-shaped strength curve. During this, in the concentric phase, the hardest part is felt in the middle of the range and easier at the beginning as well as at the end of range. If you look at the concentric phase of the biceps curl, it would be easier for the muscle to perform at the initial range, whereas the hardest part of the lift is the middle range where the elbow is almost at 90 degrees, and it becomes easier further after performing a curl further. Thus during the concentric phase, the initial and the end range is relatively easier comparing to the middle. The middle range is difficult as it is evident in this video where he is unable to perform the middle range of motion. That's the difficult range. That's why we adopt a trick movement by thrusting the hip and using that momentum to overcome the toughest middle range of motion during the biceps curl. While performing ascending strength curve movements, accommodating resistance by using elastic bands accommodate these type of exercises by increasing the resistance throughout the entire concentric phase of movement. Also, variable resistance using bands increases the eccentric velocity a little bit during ascending strength curve movements, thus it can increase or enhance eccentric force. Moreover, studies have shown that there is an increased time under tension when we use variable resistance band, thus helpful in improving the force production.